Hey guys, welcome to another video on the channel. I am going to be upfront and real with you. This is completely unscripted. I haven't prepared in any way for this. I've got some figures that I want to show off to do with this topic. But we are going to be talking about the company, the infamous Neca toys. So those of you who've been watching this channel and have seen the type of things that I collect, things that I review, will obviously be no stranger to the fact that I do have quite a large Neca collection. And I do review Neca figures quite frequently on the channel, and I hope to get back into that soon. I've got a lot of figures that I need to review, ones that I'm very excited to take a look at, but it's just getting round to it. It's been a bit difficult at the moment, but I promise I will do that. But I just felt the need to talk about a few things today. Now, I know what some of you are going to be thinking, like, oh, another Neca rant, really, because I have done a few in the past, and some of you will probably also think, well, if you hate them so much, why do you keep buying them? Well, the truth is, I don't hate them. I'm just disappointed with how some of their stuff turns out, and I'm also disappointed of how some of them behave at their company and how they treat their customers. So what really started this off is I bought something that I wouldn't normally buy, and that is this, which is Usagi Yojimbo. I hope I've pronounced that right. He's a samurai rabbit from a very popular comic book series, and he is a part of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line. Now, those of you who know me, hold on, I'll just adjust the lighting, that's better. So, those of you who know me will know that I only really collect specific things, so mostly Alien, Predator, more horror stuff, but I saw this guy in a comic book shop local to my town, well, in my town, and I thought, you know what? I mean, I love rabbits. For those of you guys who haven't figured that out, I mean, the clue's in the name of my channel, and I do lots of artwork kind of based around them. I've got my own characters for a story I'm writing, and this guy just fit. He just fit straight in with all of that, even though I didn't really have much knowledge of this character, I just took one look at this and I thought, do you know what? I might just bite the bullet and get this guy. Because, here in the UK, we are still waiting. We're going to be waiting quite a while for some of the Neca's newer sets coming out, like the Evil Dead set, which looks brilliant. The Howling Werewolf and, things like that, and the Peter Cushing Van Helsing. You guys in America get them way earlier than we do. It's very rare that we get them here on time or even earlier. It's usually we have to wait quite some months. So I saw this and I thought, you know what? I'm going to pick this up. Now, I will do an individual review on this guy at some point, but this is a black and white edition. And it's more to look like the artist's actual artwork. His name escapes me just at the moment. Hold on, if I just look, because I've got the book over here. Stan Sakai, yeah. Now, speaking about the book, so I'll just put the figure off there a sec. This figure was so cool that I went onto YouTube and saw if I could see some clips of the character, because I know he's been in various iterations of the show. The ones I grew up with were the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Back to the Sewer, which I know not a lot of people like. I don't remember the character appearing in that, but I know he's been in the 1987 cartoon, the 2003, and he's even been in more modern adaptations. So, went and saw a lot of clips on YouTube. I should probably be saving all this for the review of this guy, but I like the look of the character. Like, this figure sold me. It sold me on this character. It inspired me to go and look on YouTube, and it inspired me to, check out some of the comics, which is wonderful. And the reason I'm making this point, if I just put this back, is because Neca, you guys make absolutely fantastic figures. Like, in terms of appearance, your artists and your sculptors are just phenomenal. But where everything begins to fall apart, unfortunately, is how the figures are made. I don't know if it's the type of plastic. I don't know if it's cost cutting in the assembly. I don't know what it is. But to cut a long story short, when I took this figure out of the box, he was as stiff as a brick. No, probably not the best way to put it, but his joints were not going to move. I remember I couldn't move the head. It had this head on in the box. I couldn't move the head. I couldn't even pop the head off, which was worrying me. The legs were very tight, and they made this awful noise as you tried to move them. Couldn't move the arms. Could barely rotate the hands. So, obviously, if you've been collecting Neca figures for a while, and I'm sure some of you will go straight in the comments, oh, just boil it, before you move it. Because, of course, that's what you have to do with a brand new figure, is prep it for use. So a bit ridiculous when you think about it, especially also when you consider the price that you're paying for these things. I mean, and please, God, don't use the excuse of inflation. Once again, you guys in America don't know how good you have it. I mean, in the UK at the moment, we're currently under the rule of well, I won't use his name because of YouTube, but someone who likes to arrest people who criticize him. So yeah, not a very nice person and not a very nice government, who are just making life hell here in the UK. Prices are going up, and unfortunately, it's even happening in the world of toys, which I find ridiculous. Because, look, if we're being honest, a toy is not an essential. It's not something that, you really need. And the excuse that, inflation is affecting this, I don't think are as legit as some companies are making out. But as I say, that's a whole new topic. But the point is, we pay quite a pretty penny for these. And the fact that they can fail straight out of the box. I boil and pop this guy, and his arm actually popped off. It didn't snap, it popped off the peg. And I was like, well, that seemed to have fixed the problem, because I couldn't move this arm at all. I can move it perfectly fine now, but I had to pop it off the peg. I don't know if maybe the paint sort of fuses it up. I'm not really sure what's going on there. I know that he's supposed to have a joint here, which I still haven't gotten to work that well, but I'll be saving all of that for the review. So the point is, in terms of appearance, this is magical. It's a wonderful piece of art, and yet it's been completely ruined by just the shoddy production and how it's gone through. I mean, yes, I've got it working now, but I'm still afraid to touch it. I'm still afraid to move it. So I suppose what I should do is bring in an example of a breakage. So we have my Enforcer Predator. Now, for those of you who've seen the review on the channel, go check it out if you're interested. I'm not going to say you have to, because I never like it when people do that. It's like, hey, go watch my videos. It's like, no, you don't have to if you don't want to. But I remember I got this 2-pack only recently, and this 2-pack is rare enough. Like, even in America, it's rare. It's hard to find, because obviously it's been out for some few years now. But to find it here in the UK, and luckily I happen to be friends with the seller, so I was able to, get a nice price on it. And I was very excited because design-wise, I love the purple sort of skin texture. The review spot described it best. It looks like blueberry yogurt. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not about to disagree with that. It's a very satisfying color scheme. I really do like this Predator. I love how clean and how shiny he is. But unfortunately, upon taking this fella out of the box, his arm did break. Now, I can't remember actually. I think, yep, So what my uncle very kindly did was, and I've done this with a lot of my Neca figures, by the way, it's a good way to keep the articulation, which is better than just super gluing on, is this is a piece of metal. It's like a metal rod. We had to Dremel a hole into the plastic because this was so gummy, guys. It's like the joint wasn't even there, and it just came straight off, and I barely even moved it. It's like the joint just didn't function. Like it had seized up. The plastic was very soft and gummy, and it just wasn't moving at all, and it just came off effortlessly. So I was like, well, that's one thing straight out the box. Thankfully, no other issues. Nothing wrong with the bag blood, but I was a little disappointed, to say the least. But sadly, because we had to Dremel quite deep to get the rod in, he can no longer do the double bend like he can on this arm. But even then, that's restricted because you have to be careful of this cable. So, I was really excited. I was really looking forward. And then you just kind of twist it on like that. Like I say, it's not noticeable, but it does restrict display options, which is a shame. You can't do a double bend on this arm, which is deeply frustrating, because I love my Predators and I love getting them in cool poses. So that's a shame. Sticking with Predators. Oh boy. So I do have some photos of the state of this figure when I got this off eBay, because once again, this is quite a difficult one to find. Now, as far as I know, there have been no bootlegs of this, so I know some people are like, oh, you probably bought a bootleg. It's like, no, trust me, I've bought genuine Neca figures and I've had these issues. When I took this fella out of the box, now the seller mentioned that the figure was damaged on one of the legs. So I was like, okay, I can see what I can do. If I can get him looking nice, that'll be a plus. When I took him out of the packaging that I received him in, this whole bottom section just completely fell apart. And I mean the terrible joint thing that they use, holding all this together, it just fell apart. This leg went that way, that went that way, this whole section, even his rubber bum just came completely off, and then this sort of belt, this cyborg piece here, that all just slid out. So yeah, it was a bit more broken than I think even the seller realized. He did give me a bit of a refund, so I was quite happy with that. But I just want to say, just look how cool this is. Look at the design. You've even got a bendy tail in the hair. So this is meant to be like a sort of recreation of the original 90s toy. And my God, just a nightmare. So thankfully I got some sort of plastic sealant glue, which kind of fuses the plastic together. And I had to effectively rebuild this figure, guys. I had to put it together as if I was someone doing it at the factory. I actually had to get a scalpel and I had to cut this rubber piece because it's like a belt. It's not written. Oh, see, look, the cannons fell off. It doesn't stick on there too well. But this is like a rubber piece that kind of just sits on there. That there was no way I could reattach everything in there without this getting in the way. So I cut it with a scalpel. I'm not sure if you can see. To be honest, it's worked very well. You can't even actually tell where I've cut it. I think, was it this side or that? It was this side. So I cut it with a scalpel. I tried to stay on the sculpt line so that it would be less noticeable. Had to remove this entire piece. I had to rebuild the crotch section, which, if you guys don't know, with this awful ball joint system, which I will get onto in a moment, this thin, flimsy, brittle crotch section is the only thing that holds that together. And that had split in half. That had actually completely split in half. So there was no way these legs could reattach if I weren't able to fix that. And I thought, well, I can have a go at maybe gluing it and holding it as tight as I can and hopefully the legs will still be able to move, which thankfully that's what happened. So even though the legs can still move, they're quite floppy, but the figure can still stand. And then once I'd done that, I had glued this rubber belt back together, just held it shut, and it's fused quite nicely. Honestly, I think this has been a massive success. I've been very, very lucky. But once again, like I say, these figures on the secondhand market, guys, they are not cheap, because they're sought after, but they're junk. They're rubbish. These are older Neca figures. So I know some people are going to go, oh, but they've changed. Well, yes, they have changed, and they've gotten significantly better than they were, but we're still running into problems. So I'll just show off this one quickly because I know he's an older figure. So this is the Kenner Tribute Terminator. Fantastic figure. I've had no issues with the joints. I love his robotic arm. I love the design of him. The paintwork is really good. Sorry about the blurriness. I'll see if I can adjust that. But the big problem with this figure was the feet. Now, these feet just pop onto ball joints, which, all well and good. Sounds simple enough. When I tried to stand this guy, he would immediately just fall because the feet were so loose, they couldn't take any weight at all. They could not take any weight whatsoever. So I had to buy a tightener fluid, which from what I can tell is very similar to like a nail varnish. And what you do is you pop off the foot, you coat the joint in the fluid, pop the foot back on, and just kind of, really work it into the joint. And when it sets, you're going to have yourself a much tighter fitting joint. So although, I'm still not happy with the quality, I do have to make sure that I keep him slightly leaning back so that he doesn't fall over. I still think that is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that happens. So a lot of people like to say, oh, Neca have changed and all that. Well, here's a newer figure set, and this is the Halloween 2 2-pack. Now, this hand, once again, with this set, Michael Myers comes with interchangeable hands. Tried doing that, and it snapped the peg straight off. It's this tiny, flimsy little peg, just snapped straight off. And luckily, I was able to get it out of the hand. But, I was like, for goodness sake. So once again, we abandoned the whole peg system itself because it enabled the hand to go up and down like that. And we just stuck a metal rod in there. And ironically, the joint is now stronger. Sorry about that, guys. Camera died on me there. So, as I said, the joint is now stronger and sturdier than this hand. So yes, this hand can go up and down, but I mean only by a fraction. Like, it's barely even noticeable. But this hand, it does pop off a bit easy, but once you twist it on there, it's on there and it's not going anywhere. You can still rotate it because, like I say, putting that metal rod in, you still get rotation out of the joint. So if any of your Neca figures do break, I personally think that this is a great way of mending them. You just Dremel yourself a little hole in there. Like I say, it had to completely destroy the ridiculous, flimsy, brittle plastic little joint that was in there. How they expect you to pop the hands off when the hands, if it's such a small joint, the hands should be rubber. They should be very squishy and very flexible. They're quite a tough plastic, so that when you put pressure on there, of course you're going to break the joint. But like I say, it's all about the appearance. There's not really much thought. It might sound good on paper, but when you actually put it into practice, it's not practical. And that's the trouble with a lot of, collectible toys nowadays. It's all about the looks. It's all about those first impressions. But once you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, there's issues. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Neca's new joints compared to their old joints. So going back to the issues that I was having with that. So this is the Dr. Loomis Michael Myers 2-pack. The Dr. Loomis figure is entirely brand new, and he has the new updated ball peg joint system. It's a bit difficult to see on this figure, so if I just bring in, because I've got all these figures off to the side ready to bring in, this recent reissue of the Freddy Krueger figure. I don't know if that's easier for you guys to see. The kind of joints that you would get on a Marvel Legend figure. Very good. In fact, I was very happy to see that they had listened by implementing these joints into older figures, which is fantastic. So, Dr. Loomis figure, my figure had a trouble where the peg, his head wasn't clipping onto the peg properly, because the plastic inside the head, which you're supposed to clip onto the peg, was just completely filled. It had all this excess plastic in there, so I actually had to Dremel this head out in order to get it to clip onto the neck properly. So once again, I shouldn't have to do that, especially at the price that I'm paying. So going back to the Michael, so this figure gets the new treatment with the wonderful new joints, and then they go back to this awful thing, which is still on their Predator figures. When the Michael Myers figure that came out before this was the Halloween Kills figure, and that figure has the new updated ball pegs. So how come a figure that comes out before gets the update, but then they decide to go back to those less good joints with this version when he has them? These figures are in the same pack. So I'm not too sure what happened there. Was it a cost reason? As I say, he's Michael Myers, and you can't really flex the legs too much anyway, because you run the risk of tearing these overalls. But that's not the point. It's like, I don't like these leg joints. I think they're not good. They don't, they're not as durable as these, or so I thought. But I've seen instances where even these updated ones have broke. Which I was very upset about. But as a whole, they are much better. And like I say, I've mentioned in previous videos where I've, been less than pleased with Neca, that they need to update their older figures. If they're going to re-release the older figures that are notorious for having all these issues, you can't just re-release it, because you're effectively copying and pasting the issues that you had over to the new one. So it looks like, and I'm not just saying I'm the only one who said this, but I saw no one else on YouTube saying it, but this is the most recent, this is the 2024 reissue of the Nightmare on Elm Street Ultimate Freddy, which my mom actually got me by mistake, but I'm fine with that, because, brilliant focus, brilliant paint applications, a big improvement. And with these new updated leg joints, a much more sturdier figure. So wonderful. If you guys never owned the originals, now's a great time to get these figures, because you're getting a much better version. As I say, just make sure that you are getting the reissue. Just check the numbers above the barcode. The last numbers are always the year it was released, so look for 24. And, I was saying that Neca's quality was really improving. Well, so I initially thought. Now, this creature from the Black Lagoon figure is flawless. I have sung this figure's praises on my YouTube channel. Sadly, YouTube decided to copyright strike my video, even though the music clip that was used was only less than 30 seconds, and it had audio over it. But there you go. AI is wonderful, isn't it? But, this figure has the better joints. It has a wonderful joint system where it actually has rubber scales over a plastic endoskeleton. So you can hide the joints very well. It's a masterpiece of a figure. Even this articulated jaw, you wouldn't think that was articulated. If I didn't know, I could easily miss it. It feels very well made. It's got a nice weight to it. It's a fantastic figure. I've sung the figure's praises, guys, believe me. But then we come on to a very recent purchase, which is the black and white Nosferatu. Now, great figure, very well made, wonderful paint applications, nice few accessories, brilliant. But an issue that I thankfully picked up on when watching, when watching a few other people's reviews was that the hand joints were incredibly fragile. People were having instances where they were popping the hands out, which isn't the easiest thing to do on a Neca figure all the time. And these hands have a T joint, which means they can go forward and backwards as well as do a rotation. I'll try and very gently remove the hand because I don't want to break it, and just show you guys the joint here. Now you'll see that it's only held in there by these two pieces at either side. Well, because these pegs were so tightly in the wrist, as people were pulling, it was actually prizing these pieces apart, and it was causing the hand to pop off this bit. Now, once that happens, it's broken because usually what will happen is the sort of little rod that goes through there, which enables it to go forward and back. Once you break that, that's it. Your hand is probably just going to sit on there and be loose. Now, when I saw that was happening, I made extra sure to boil this figure before even attempting to switch the hands over. Which, like I said with the Usagi figure, is something that you really shouldn't have to do, especially when you're getting a figure that is this expensive. And it's nonsense. It's just ridiculous. And the fact that Neca's immediate response is, "Oh, it's your fault, you should have handled it better," is ridiculous. It's a laughingstock. It's insane. Blaming customers for your products failing is just ridiculous. And I know some people probably say, "Oh, well, you've just got to take that extra bit of care. They're not meant to be played with. They're action figures. If they're not supposed to be played with, then why even bother implementing the joints? Why not just have them as statues? Okay, maybe you pose them for a display, but I don't know, maybe I'm old-fashioned. When I buy something like a toy, I like to enjoy it, and I've really been enjoying this Usagi. But when I'm afraid to move it, because, at the risk of breaking the sodding thing, you start to wonder, is this worth it? Now, I know Neca as a company have not got a good history with their customer service. A whole thing I could go into about, I'm in the UK, so if I do get a dodgy figure, I do get something that's maybe missing pieces or a joint breaks, there's nothing I can do about it. I just get told by Neca's customer service, which is only on Twitter, by the way, which is ridiculous, that, sorry, we can't do anything about it. You're going to have to chase up the person you bought it off. Well, wonderful. And what if they don't want to cooperate? It's ridiculous. You guys shouldn't be selling your figures abroad if you haven't got some kind of thing in place where people can get replacements. It's just not on. And I know they're in a whole controversy about, effectively bullying and blackmailing their fans, harassing their fans. It's like, because they made the mistake of sending 2 of something people had pre-ordered, and when people received them, Neca kind of messaged them and said, "Hey, could you send us it back? We'll pay for shipping and all that," which seems fair enough, but obviously there could be reasons why people couldn't. So Neca then send out an email saying, "Well, if you don't, we'll charge you for it, and then you won't be able to buy any more of our stuff on our website." It's like, it was your mistake. It's like, well, I'm never going to be pre-ordering anything from them because, God almighty, if I live all the way in the UK and they can't even have the decency to send me replacement parts, why would I trust their pre-ordering scheme? Which apparently, people pre-order stuff and shops end up getting them in before they get their bloody pre-order. It's all just a bit of a mess and a bit of a nightmare, but at the end of it, it's a shame because the sculptors and the designers that work for this company are incredible, and the figures they produce look absolutely brilliant, but I think this is insulting to them. It's like when you put out products that have so many issues, it's insulting to the wonderful people who make these things. And Stan Sakai, this is your character. Are you happy with a product that needs to be put in a tub of boiling water before it's even movable? Are you happy with that level of quality? Because I'm telling you now, guys, when you look at figures that are produced for companies like Mezco, God, yes, you have to pay significantly more, but I tell you guys, quality, they're on it. So I don't know, there's a big debate going on. Some people say, well, Neca are giving you the best they can give you for the price. It's like, I don't know. I mean, once again, I could just be old-fashioned, but 40 to 50 to 60 quid seems a bit ridiculous for an action figure. That's just my view on it. I think we're kind of in this weird place where if you slap a collector's logo on something, it justifies insane prices. Don't get me wrong, I will say that, a lot of Neca's figures actually are very much worth the price. I mean, in terms of sculpt and in terms of, what they're able to put out there, but I'm sorry, it just doesn't justify the issues they have. You can't then just turn around and go, well, what do you expect for 60 quid? This isn't Del Boy, this isn't Only Fools and Horses, which you Americans probably won't know what that is, but it's a comedy.
What bloody breaks? I nearly killed myself, Del, it's a death trap.
What do you expect for 25 quid?
You can't justify that. It's like, come on, Neca, I love your figures. They look great on the shelves. I love collecting them. Come on, just try and sort this out and sort out your god-awful attitude towards your customers. It's a very kind of blame the victim mentality. It's like, oh, what, your toy failed? Well, nothing we could do. It's your fault. How dare you come complaining to us? It's like, you're a toy company. You should be prepared for these things to happen. Not everything works, all toy companies have issues. But you, Neca, have amassed quite a reputation for it. And that's a problem. You guys really need to get off your high horse and start addressing these issues and start treating your fans with respect and be grateful that people overseas like myself are supporting your products, are buying your products. Don't just send me a message saying, oh, sorry, there's nothing we can do. Like, how dare you? I'm giving you my money. I'm giving you my hard-earned money. And that's how you treat me? It's a real shame, but I do love a lot of what they put out there, but having to stick a figure in boiling water just to get it to work is ridiculous. And I'm telling you, sometimes I wish there would be another company that would pop up and be like, hey, we're doing this kind of stuff as well. And I'm telling you, Neca, if that ever happens, well, you're really going to have to sort yourselves out then, because you're going to have some competition. And, if they're putting out better products, well then, like I say, I'm only doing this because I just want things to get better. And you guys have improved. But, when my mom buys me an £85 Stoneheart Predator, which looked like the coolest thing ever, and the arm snaps off when I'm in the middle of reviewing it, which unfortunately I don't have the footage for, and I wish I did because it would have been perfect for this video. There is rotation at the elbow and also a double joint bend, but shit. I'm very depressed. And there's nothing I can do about it because you don't take return figures overseas. well, then you shouldn't sell your products overseas, in my opinion, if that's how it's going to be. But, that's supposed that figure, the Stoneheart, was allegedly... I consider anything pre-2020 to be old Neca, Neca where you look at the bloody thing and it will break. And then after that, they seem to start improving, with figures like the Part 7 Jason and the Alien 1979 anniversary wave. They implemented new joints. Their quality seemed to go up. And yet I still find myself having issues with them, and so do many other people. And I'm tired of these issues being sugar-coated when really we need to start putting it out there a bit more. And I know what some of you are going to say. It's like, well, you're still buying them, so you're still part of the problem. Well, I can't lie, guys. I am a bit of a collector, but I am not going to stop raising awareness about these issues. And you know what? If they don't want to send me free stuff, fine. Probably not the best idea because I'm overseas. And I don't want them to send me free stuff because I want to make an honest review as someone who has actually gone out and spent money on it. And I want you guys to be like, maybe that's got a bit too many issues for me. I don't want to take the risk. Absolutely fine. And, I'm happy to have helped out with something like that. Because at the end of the day, guys, I'm a passionate toy reviewer and I am going to give my honest, unfiltered opinion about something with any company. These people who just shill for things, so that they hope they can get free stuff sent to them, pathetic. What happens if you get something free and it breaks? Yeah? You gonna ask for another one? Anyway, rant over, guys. So as I say, I will get round to reviewing this guy. I probably will bring up the issue of the having to boil it again, but it's a very nice figure, and like I say, I am very excited for a lot of NECA's upcoming figures. But my ultimate message to the company is you guys need to sort yourselves out and stop being vicious to your customers the way you are. Because you're doing a disservice not just to the very talented sculptors and designers, but also the people who are entrusting you with their license. Like Stan Sakai entrusting you with this wonderful character and all the very other wonderful characters. You guys really want to start upping your game and building a nice reputation. And, keep up the good work with your amazing sculpts because they are amazing. But for God's sake, sort out your quality control and have a sit down and think, what's practical? Because sometimes less is more. If the figures had less articulation but were more durable and you could actually, move them around, make stop motions with them, or even play with them, it's like I know which one I would go for. Better than a fragile, flimsy piece of rubbish that will break as soon as you breathe at it. Right, rant over. So that's just something that I felt I had to put out there, guys. So let me know down in the comments below what you think, as I'm sure, lots of people have their own nightmare experiences with this company. Let me know if you've had anything horrible happen to you. I'm sure if you've been collecting NECA like I have, something has gone wrong or something. But also let me know, what are your favourite NECA figures? And like I say, reviews for a lot of these will be coming soon. Even the which one is he? The Spiked Tail Predator, because that's a new addition to the collection. It's just a shame that I had to perform literal surgery on it before I could get it ready. So, it's just one of those issues. I did get a price reduction, though, which was nice. So, as I say, like, share, subscribe if you want to, and, yeah, stay safe, happy, wherever you are in the world, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye for now, guys.